Hi, and welcome back to Ladies Let's Talk Business. And today, guys, we have an amazing show for you. I am joined by the one and only Miss Pametria Brown, and we're going to be talking about mental health today. So I know you've listened to the episodes in the past. We've touched on mental health. We've had a therapist on, but today I really want to dive deep and talk about mental health, and especially mental health from a Black woman's perspective. So, guys, get ready. Miss Pametria, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here, excited to be here. It's been a long time.
Yes.
So, yes.
So tell the people first how we met. Do you remember?
Ooh, like literally the first time?
Yeah. A fashion show.
I was going to say, I know it's around fashion. I don't know if I remember the very first time I met you, but I know, I want to say this was back when I was hosting with Reginald Dyer. Was it Channel 31 or Channel 17? And so I was actually hosting a fashion segment and doing fashion shows, emceeing and all of that. So I think that may have been around the time we met.
Yes. So, and I asked you that because I've always known you to be a voice for the people. Even though you were doing the fashion segments and hosting those events, you were always pushing for Black people and for mental health. So let's go back. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
Okay. So as you said, I'm Pametria Brown. Most people know me as Pam. As you met me as Pam. That is something that I allow people to call me to make them feel comfortable. And so a few years ago, I made a whole dramatic thing on social media with reclaiming my name. And I had to even get comfortable using it again because I went by Pam for so many years. I'm talking about from 10th grade up until maybe 10 years ago, where I allow people to call me Pam and always hated that name.
Really?
But I allow other people to do it because my name was too long and it would be a whole thing of people mispronouncing it. And so I just was like, you know what? I started introducing myself as Pam, but uncomfortable with it the whole time. And so I changed that, and it didn't really fit my personality. If you know me, I've always been bold.
Yes.
I've always been loud. I never gave Pam. It never gave Pam. Okay. So I am a licensed mental health therapist in the city of Memphis. I have done a lot of things to promote and celebrate Black culture, Black women specifically, Black children, and just push the narrative a little bit more than just general entertainment, and do what I used to call edutainment with the events that I hosted throughout the years.
Wonderful. So what drew you to mental health, and how, once you got into it, how did you know that that was your purpose and your calling?
So social work was my my degree, University of Memphis, undergrad, social work. I initially was going to do psychology, but somehow ended up in social work. And I am a person whose journey has been very much spirit-led, right? And so it was not, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I did not go to school with the intention of being a therapist or working in mental health. Even in grad school, once I decided that I was getting my master's in social work, it still was not with the intention of being a therapist, right? I worked for the Department of Children's Services and specifically with youth in foster care. During that time, if you're working with kids in foster care, you are responsible for them as the caseworker, right? So these children are like a ward of the state. So legally, the state is their parent. So as the foster care worker or family service worker, you are like their guardian, right? So that means you're signing permission slips. You're having to go and clear suspensions. You're having to do all of these things. And I had a client who died by suicide. And that was life-changing for me as a young social worker. He was 17. And that really kind of pushed me on a path to learn more about understanding the warning signs. And I took a leave of absence from my job at that time to prioritize my own mental health. And I ended up transitioning and working into mental health hospitals after that. So his passing actually pushed me to become a therapist without even knowing that that was the path that I was going down.
Right.
But it led me to no longer want to be in that environment. And my next job was working as a mental health therapist at the hospital.
And so you basically answered the next question that I was going to ask you. Was there a pivotal moment that really pushed you more so into mental health?
Absolutely.
Speak to the listeners. as a Black woman in mental health, what are some of the main issues you see within the Black community that you address on a daily basis?
One of the things that is important for me is normalizing the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I am very much, I have a bold personality, so I don't mind having hard conversations. And that also means having the conversations in unconventional places. I do a series called Community Conversations where I might be at a rooftop party and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm going to pull out my phone and ask people, is it okay for me to record?
Mm-hmm.
And I may ask you at the rooftop party to talk to me about how mental health was discussed in your household growing up, right? And so because we're not in the office, we're not in a stiff place, we're just on the rooftop. You got a margarita in your hand.
Right.
And I'm
So you're a little more
asking you,
open.
you're more comfortable. And it is not this, oh my God, mental health
Mm-hmm.
therapy. So taking that stigma down a little bit at a time by just having it as a casual conversation, as opposed to when you think of therapy, there is this huge cloud of something is wrong with you. Right? When we all go through things, we all experience loss, we all experience grief, we all have experienced hurt. So those are normal things that happen. So why is it a big thing because I go to therapy to process normal things that are happening? It does not have to be a severe mental illness that requires you to go to therapy. It could just be a life transition.
Sometimes life is just lifing and you need someone to
Absolutely.
I've been there. Life has lifed. We were talking earlier, just this year for me alone, with losing my cousin. I spoke on that on the last episode here on the pod. And dealing with a sick grandmother and then having kids transitioning to high school. Like, it can be a lot at times. And then you're dealing with day to day. Yes, you still got to go to work. You still got to clean your house up. And sometimes you need to just speak with someone, not a friend, but a professional, a licensed professional that I found for me when I was in therapy helped me understand what's going on in my mind, because I may be thinking it, but I can't put it into words. I remember the biggest turning point for me when I went to therapy, I didn't understand that I was mad at God. I knew I had a disconnect from God, but because we were brought up in the church and told you don't question God, you don't this, I didn't have it in my mind to say, oh, I'm mad at God right now because of what happened. So with that in mind, how have you seen religion influence Black people or just people in general coming to therapy?
We can say Black people,
Okay,
call
Black
it out,
people,
name it, right? Because
us.
that is a huge part of our culture, right? And so it has hindered a lot of people from coming to therapy because so much of our dynamic has been bring it to the altar, right? And for so long, we want to talk about the historical context of not being allowed to be in places beyond the church, right? So the church was our safe haven. So of course, this is where you are literally laying your burdens down. And so as we fast forward to now, we can't just say, well, Black people don't go to therapy. There is a genuine fear of medical professionals due to our cultural history, right? And so we can't just say, well, we don't want to do it. We only want to go to church without recognizing the big picture of how we got to this point and what was passed down to us from generations. Our parents did not have the luxury of going to the doctor, let alone going to a therapist. Like, what's wrong with you? What are you talking about? Right? But we can go to church. There's always time for church. Even when we were enslaved, they allowed you to go to church. If nothing else, you couldn't be in the house with your children sometimes, but you were allowed to go to church, right? And so that is a cornerstone in our community. And so for many, that has just been the salvation. So to do things outside of that and to say, well, we're going to do something else, it's a little bit, like you're questioning God and you don't have enough faith because you should be able to do this. And if it was good enough for my grandmother and it was good enough for my mother, why is this not enough for me? Right? And so there is a lot of guilt that comes when my anxiety is overwhelming and I've prayed about it.
And it's
and
not
I've
going
cried.
away.
And I've read the scriptures. But I also feel that maybe I need some medication to help me get to a calmer space to make it more manageable. And so there's that guilt that may come into play when my spirituality is being questioned because I'm still struggling with this, right? So that is what leads to people being silent. right? People being silent because if I say this out loud, I'm going to be judged or ostracized for not having strong enough faith to do that. So church can definitely be a salve for our community, but it is okay to have other things. Just like you go to the doctor, if you were experiencing cancer, if you were diagnosed with cancer, they wouldn't say only pray about it.
Right.
You're still going to tell that person to go see an oncologist. You're still going to expect them to go get treatment. In fact, you would judge them for not doing it.
not doing so.
Right?
Yeah.
So the same concept and mindset has to be applied to other areas of our wellness.
Awesome. I'm so glad I got you on here, Pam.
Okay.
Because you are hitting all the points before I can even get to my questions on my good old cue cards.
Period.
That's how y'all know you are dealing with someone who is passionate, informed, and just awesome at what she does. I mean, Pam is awesome. She's an awesome person, but in the mental health space, she is, oh my God, one of the first Black women that I saw that really pushed, especially in this social media age. You were one of the first Black women that I saw really push mental health and push it on a daily basis, like you said, in a relaxed way, in a professional way, in a way that was relatable for a lot of people, especially for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a lot of Black women holding on even now with therapy being more in the forefront, still holding on to that strong Black woman, like I have to be everything for everybody? Do you still see that? And when they're coming into therapy, what does that look like?
That is something that I think in general as a woman, we're naturally nurturers, right? And so you are expected to hold all of these things. When you were doing your introduction, you talked about all of your roles, right? And that is almost, especially as a Black woman, how we define ourselves. It's almost a badge of honor to be able to endure.
Sometimes we wear struggle as a badge of honor instead of the soft life. Like the more I struggle, the better woman that I am.
We celebrate it.
Yeah.
I can recall on social media, there was a WNBA coach, I want to say, that was pregnant, and she was celebrated for like returning to work like 3 days later. And I'm like, Lord, is she all right?
Right.
Has she been able to nurse a baby? Has she had a chance to rest? Has she made sure, everything is okay? But this is celebrated. And so when we live in that type of culture that celebrates getting back to it, and we always talk about, oh, they're so strong. This person could have endured horrible tragedies. And we pride ourselves on how well they're able to jump back out there and get back to the regular routine and the hustle and bustle of life, when that mentality leads to long-term mental health struggles, right? Because you are suppressing and you are not giving yourself the opportunity to grieve, to process, to feel. And so many of us just want to be numb. And whether we're numbing it with drugs, whether we're numbing it with sex, whether we're numbing it with staying busy, hello?
Been there.
We don't want to feel it because that's too real, and those emotions can be so heavy. And so we try to just kind of press the fast forward button so that we can get past this moment, but we haven't allowed ourselves to feel. And that is when we have anxiety attacks, panic attacks start to happen, because you're trying to push through. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. And out of nowhere, boom, you're not.
It hits you.
It hits you, or your blood pressure is up. You're having a stroke. You're having these things happen because we have tried to suppress or repress these things, and it's going to come up one way or the other. Your body is going to let you know, girl, sit down.
And it will come up. Like I say, from my experience, I've lived through that. Oh, I'm over it. I'm busy. I always say that I got through it, but I didn't heal. I didn't heal it. So like you say, you take one thing to trigger you, and then this mountain of anxiety and everything comes pouring in on you. And I did the work. I went to therapy. Did the work that she gave me. Used my tools. What are some tools that people, women, men, everyone, youth can use because the mental health system sometimes can be flawed.
Oh, for sure.
I can call and say, hey, I'm having an issue, I'm having an episode, and someone can't get to me today. What could I do if I'm having an episode, I'm spiraling, and I can't get in and talk to a therapist? I don't even have a therapist. how can I cope until I can see someone?
So it's important to know, like, if I'm in crisis, and what I mean by crisis is I am at risk of harming myself, I am at risk of harming someone else. So if you are in crisis or someone you knows is in crisis, 988 is the emergency number, right? And so just like 911, 988 is the mobile crisis, it's the national number, right? And even if you're not able to talk, because sometimes we don't have the word, you can text 741-741 and have someone to respond to you, right? So if we're not in an emergency state, um, and it's just in general where I'm feeling overwhelmed and I just feel like I need to get some hope. If I do not have a therapist currently, like, do you have any other supports? One of the things that I encourage my clients when they come to me who have a history of suicidal thoughts is, let's develop a plan, right? And so a part of that plan is who's on your team. And so what I mean by your team is, if something were to happen to me or I felt that I was going to do harm to myself, who are the people who would care? Right. And so sometimes it's hard to think of those people when you are in crisis.
When you're in it, yeah.
So we do this beforehand. Let's develop this beforehand, because when you're in the moment, you can't think of anything. Nobody cares. Nobody ever did. Right. So beforehand, let's develop, 2 to 3, 4 people who are on your team. And we would have a safe word, and we would tell these people in advance that they are a part of my team, or ask them if they would agree to be a part of your team. And so we may even have them in a group chat that is specifically for this, right? Because I may call you and you may not answer. And I may feel like I did my job. I tried.
Right.
Carrie didn't answer. And so that means this is meant to be for me to harm myself, right? So if I have you all in a group chat, you may not see it, but Tasha might see it. Tamika might see it, right? And so if I send this word or 911 or whatever it is, then we already have established what this means. You know my location. You can come to me and you can help me in that moment if this is a crisis or I need someone to talk to. Because every situation doesn't mean I need to go to the hospital. Sometimes I just need somebody to listen. I just need somebody to listen, right? And so when we talk about what are the things that I can do individually outside of therapy, is already having an understanding of what helps my body to calm down. What is my de-escalation plan if I'm overwhelmed with anxious thoughts? If my depression kicks in too heavy, my grief is too deep for me, what are my safety nets outside of people? Because sometimes they may not be available.
Right.
So what do I have in my toolkit to help me self-regulate? Whether it's coloring, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's grounding myself in nature, whether it is listening to music. What are the things that I have, tapping into my senses that are specific for me, not what helps someone else? Trying out different coping skills. I used to give out a worksheet to teens that had 117 coping skills on there. Try them all. Because what helps me
may not help
you.
Exactly.
Somebody else may say deep breathing, and I might feel stupid. Like, girl, what we doing? Right? So for me, one of my cheat codes for anxiety is the sense of touch. And so I like to do what's called chicken fingers, right? And so that helps me, but it may not work for you, right? So trying different things when you are in a calmer space, so that by the time I'm in crisis, I already know what has helped instead of waiting until an emergency. So being proactive instead of reactive is a definite cheat code when it comes to mental health. Don't wait till you're in crisis to start learning how to swim.
And this is Suicide Prevention Month. And I know you've been doing a lot of work. I actually saw one of your recent videos on Facebook. Tell us about the things you're doing for Suicide Prevention Month. And yeah, because it's a very...
It can be a heavy topic,
yes.
But I think that not talking about it because people think it's uncomfortable actually aids in, us not doing the work. It aids in the stigma. So one of the things, first of all, I got my suicide nails, period. And I do that just to start a conversation, right? Because people always are like, oh, let me see your nails. And so it's like, oh, well, what is that?
The camera on.
Now get my good hand, not my injured hand.
Yeah, not her injured hand.
So the colors are turquoise and purple for Suicide Prevention Month. like I said, I personally have been impacted. My client, as well as one of my first cousins, died by suicide. And the phrase is died by suicide as opposed to committed suicide because we don't want to criminalize it, right? So if your relative died from heart failure, we would say they died from heart failure or they died from lung cancer. So this person died by suicide, okay? Like I said, their work is important for me due to personal reasons, but on a larger scale, right now, Black youth is the fastest growing population that is dying by suicide, right? And so the mindset that we used to have of, oh, Black people don't do that, we really can't say that about many things anymore, okay? Because the Black people are doing it.
What are we seeing contributing to there being a rise in youth
Well, I
suicide
think
rate?
that being able to cope, right? And having effective coping strategies as well as drug usage, as well as interventions happening, right? And so I think because oftentimes we minimize the emotions of our youth, we don't think that this is something heavy enough for them, right?
Yeah.
When those babies are struggling with things internally, and even like when we talk about something is bullying, right? Bullying is not a new concept, but what's new, if you're a parent, you're like, oh, big deal. They picked
Like
on
I
me
was
too.
bullied. Yeah.
However, now it is with the age of social media, things are amplified a
can
lot
escape
larger,
it.
and it will that will live forever, right? Once it's out, once it's on the internet, these kids are putting it on, Snapchat, Instagram, all of these things, and so as opposed to the kids at my school seeing it, now it's across the whole TikTok, right? And so that amplifies it. And if I am in this moment of despair, sometimes we struggle with thinking that we are going to get past this moment, that soon somebody else is going to have a rumor about them and nobody is going to be talking about my situation at this moment. But in this time with my underdeveloped brain as an adolescent, this is everything, right? And we talk about family struggles, all sorts of things that can contribute to youth mental health, but it is definitely on the rise with Black youth. And so one of the things that I personally am doing, I am working on a documentary called The Face of Suicide, which does highlight that it can be any of us, right? And so especially us, because those numbers are rising and we want to share the stories of those who have been impacted by suicide, whether you are the relative of someone who has died by suicide, whether you have had multiple attempts, whether you are a adolescent who is struggling with thoughts and feel that no one is there to listen. We have multiple different perspectives from law enforcement to religious leaders who are participating in the documentary. And I'm just really excited to provide an outlet to share those voices.
And I know that isn't your only resource that you have. You also have a directory of licensed Black therapists. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So the Black Therapists Matter Wellness Directory is for pre and post licensed therapists, right? So one of the things that when people call my office, I always ask, how did you find me? And they say, oh, I Googled or my friend. But a lot of people say they Googled a Black therapist. And so people are looking for therapy, especially the younger people. Even if the parents or of our generation are not as receptive, these babies are more receptive to it, right? And so they're looking for it. And so I am a person who believes that if people are constantly asking you for something, you need to package it.
Exactly.
You need to package it. And so because I am vocal on social media, as you said, people always are in my inbox like, girl, I need a therapist. Can you be my therapist? Girl, I used to go with your brother. I cannot be your therapist, okay? However, I can help you find a therapist, And so many of my family, friends, etc., are approaching me to provide their therapy, and that is just not something legally or morally that I want to do,
Gotcha.
right? Or am allowed to do. And so I provided this resource to celebrate other Black therapists. And so if people are looking, it is an opportunity for Black therapists to find a place to go and connect with their ideal client.
Okay.
Right. So in addition to it being a directory where people can find a therapist, it is also a community for the therapist to be able to push their own brands beyond their local area, to help them be able to self-publish, to help them with public speaking, because believe it or not, a lot of therapists are actually introverted and they struggle with pushing themselves beyond just doing one-to-one therapy sessions, but they have a desire to do more. So our our directory helps like kind of coach them and push them a little bit further as well.
And we'll make sure we link that actual directory link on our YouTube so individuals can click that link and connect with a therapist that fits them.
Absolutely.
We have a full table here. Tell us some of these resources that you actually bought with you as well. And you can pick them up, hold them up. For the people who are viewing us on YouTube, if y'all listening on Spotify and the other outlets, come see us on YouTube as well so you can see Miss Pametria Brown, see her beautiful face, and take a look at these books that she have. I know you are a self-published author, correct? And I know your first one was it the I Am a Natural Cutie. I remember coming to that party. Yeah. So tell us about your books you have here.
So my first baby is I Am a Natural Cutie. As we talked about, I have done events for a long time, and one of the first events I did was the Natural Cutie pageant, which was celebrating Black women and then Black children rocking their natural hair, right? And so this book highlights a young girl struggling to accept her hair. She had pride in it initially, but she was bullied and it made her feel insecure. And she no longer felt that initial pride. And so it's about reestablishing that and recognizing that people are not going to always like what you bring to the table, but you have to learn to accept and love yourself regardless or in spite of what others may say. So this was my first baby.
And we still have that book. Malia still has it.
I know that's right. This is a journal for women. It's called Black Her Story. And so this journal basically helps women to process their trauma and just kind of work through different elements of healing. And so it's guided.
Up to the camera so they can see what it looks like on the inside, too.
Okay.
Because, honey, we're trying to get these products in the people's hands now.
Let people know.
Yes, so they can see and buy.
One of the first prompts in here is, who am I, right? And that is actually one of the hardest questions that people have because many of us are outside of your roles that you may have. Oh, I'm a mother of 3 or I'm a this. Who are you as a person? And so that is something that we do challenge people to tap into and just get a better understanding of what makes you who you are, like what makes you tick, what do you stand on, right? What are the characteristics that you pride yourself in? And so that is that one. And then we also have the guided anxiety journal. In all of my journals, I leave space for areas for you to just journal, but I very much believe in a guided journal too, especially like these are things that I use with my therapy client. And so this is something you can use in therapy or outside of therapy. Now, in this journal, it starts off with assessment, right? Because if we're talking about anxiety, which impacts over 43 million Americans, right? And so let's first get an idea for what that anxiety looks like and how severe it is, right? This is not a replacement for going to therapy, but it's to give you an idea of how intense those symptoms are. And because so many people, especially post-pandemic, so many people were impacted by being at home and not having a space to be distracted. So I'm at home, I'm stuck with my thoughts and my fears, all of those things. We definitely saw a rise in anxiety during that time. And I also have a line of teen journals that I brought with me. It's actually about 6 different ones. And so I have a variety of hairstyles and complexions so that the young ladies can identify themselves. Now, these are very loosely guided. So it's mainly just space for the girls to just write. But it's a couple of things where you're writing affirmations. You're listing who are the positive peers in my life because friendships, that's everything for a teen girl. And, those girls, they fall out real quick. Right?
They fall out today, they're back friends tomorrow.
And so it's important to identify why you are friends with people and understanding, like, what is it about Amanda that I like? Is she the leader in this relationship? Am I a follower? Like kind of challenging them a little bit to think about the types of people we surround ourselves with, because as adults, we know that the people who you're surrounded with, they can determine your trajectory, right? So if all of the girls who I'm associating with are skipping school, I am more likely to be skipping school as well, right? So just kind of making our teens and having those types of conversations with our children about who are the people that you're around? Who do you eat lunch with every day, right? As opposed to asking your baby, how was school? And they're going to say, good. How you feel? Fine. Who did you eat lunch with today? Nobody. Well, why not?
Right.
Right. And so that pushes for a deeper conversation, because if you're noticing your child is saying that they ate lunch in the bathroom, or they ate lunch in the auditorium by themselves. So, well, what's going on? What happened with so and so? Or you don't have any friends. And so then that peels back an additional layer of what's going on socially with your child. Are they becoming more withdrawn? Are they isolating? Are they in depression? What's going on? So where they are having lunch by themselves, because that is the most social time for a student, because, we're in class all day, but lunch is who I choose.
Exactly.
Or who chooses me.
So these are great resources, and I think that goes back to what you said earlier, having a plan, and having an outlet, whether it's, the breathing, the grounding. I think this is great. So we'll definitely have a link, so individuals can go and pick up whichever journal is going to best help them. So let's do a quick rapid fire. I got some
Okay. Uh-oh.
questions.
Put my seatbelt on. My straps together.
You're fully prepared for this. What's one affirmation that you live by?
For me, slow down, right? And making sure that I pace myself as a thinker, as a person who is a doer. I have to challenge myself to take it one step at a time, because you will get overwhelmed trying to have too many irons in the fire. And so that has been a gift and a curse with it. ADHD type of mindset that I have. It's a gift because it's like, boom, ideas, I got them. But being able to fully nurture them and allow them to fully develop before you jump ship to the next one, that is absolutely take your time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And I'm setting a deadline. So literally, like, nobody, I work for myself, girl. Like, who in charge? I'm in charge.
What's a habit you practice daily to keep your peace?
I would say definitely breathing.
Okay.
Doing intentional breath work, as well as setting boundaries with my phone, and like if I'm able to answer, if I'm available or not, because I do a lot of work with taking in. I'm in charge of a lot of people's mental health. In addition to my family, I am also that person for my family. So it is important for me to let me pause before I do anything for any client, for any family member. Let me breathe. Let me do something for myself. So I start my day, whether it is breathing, whether it's going to the gym, I have to do something for myself first.
Awesome. What's a song that instantly lifts your spirit?
So if I am feeling really heavy, it's actually not even a full song, but Janae Aiko, she is very much like a meditation girly. And so she has a song that is a trigger mantra, and it's basically sounds, like if anybody's into like sound bowls. So she has a song called a healing trigger mantra, and it is my in case of emergency song. So when I am feeling extremely overwhelmed, I literally only listen to it when I am on 10. And it instantly helps me to get at peace and to get centered and just kind of do some moments with myself to go within so that I can de-escalate.
And lastly, what's the best advice a Black woman has ever given you?
So probably my mama. She gives me all the best advice. I would definitely say, not shrinking yourself. Not, my mama gave me a bold name, and not shrinking myself, which is something that I have been guilty of, right? Not letting people little sister me when that is not the role, right? And so really just being me and owning that. And so I think that those are things that my mother instilled in me. And there are times where I have moved away from it, where I have felt wrong for inserting that confidence in myself because of how other people received it. But I don't put my flame out. I don't put my flame out, baby. That's simple.
You should not put it out. Pam, is there anything else you want to tell the people before we wrap up today?
Again, the event September 28th is free and open to the public. It'll be at the Benjamin L. Hooks Library, The Face of Suicide. We will have resource vendors there. We will have some of the participants from the documentary sharing their story live in an open discussion. We will have some performances taking place. And so really just, making sure that we have this conversation, not just in September, but all the time. And also 988, if you or anybody you know is in crisis. Now, that keep in mind that it's not the only way we prevent suicide. This is for a crisis, right? But I think that prevention starts with asking the question and also being available to listen, because we're so busy. Everybody's so busy. And so when I ask you, hey, how you doing? I'm fine. And I expect you to say I'm fine so I can keep it moving with my day. I challenge people to ask again, but how you doing? How is your heart? Right? So that you give that person an opportunity. If this is someone I care about and I'm actually wanting to engage them, of course, if you're at the grocery store and it's a random lady on the aisle, you may not have the energy to do that. But for someone I love and someone I care about, ask a second time. Are you okay? Because we say check on your strong friend, but the strong friend's not going to openly tell you.
Exactly.
They're going to say, oh, I'm good. How are you? They're going to quickly shift it because they are the people that are used to being there for others and sometimes even feel uncomfortable with people attempting to be there for them. So I challenge you to ask a second time so that we can kind of make sure that this person is actively good, because it's going to throw them off. Like,
yeah,
what you mean? I said I was fine. Why you asking me? You know, and so then I'm vulnerable and I may be more likely to open up and share.
Awesome. I'm at a loss for words. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to make sure we have all the links so people can follow you on Insta. What are your social media handles real quick?
So Black Therapists Matter is Instagram, Facebook, a little bit on TikTok.
Okay.
Is the brand for if you are shopping for a therapist or if you are a therapist looking to be on the platform. Black Therapists Matter. For me specifically, it's my long Black name, Pametria.
I know that's right, girl.
And then my mama had the nerve to give me an even longer middle name, so it's Pametria Dominice. Okay.
As another person with a long name, Lecarius Caryon, and Remus was my maiden name. So if I would go anywhere, it was Ray Mose, Lacar Ray. I'm like, and then it's still now to this day, Mr. Thomas in my emails. I'm like, I'm a lady. It's Lecarius, not Lacarius. So I get it.
Listen, they're going to get all these Black syllables, okay? I reclaimed them. They're mine. And I feel like with us as Black people, if y'all can figure out how to say these Russian names, y'all can say other names, and y'all can say all of our Black syllables too. So
period.
Pam don't live here no more, girl. It's very much Pametria, okay?
Thank you so much again. Thank you. And thank you, listeners and viewers here on YouTube, for joining another episode of Ladies Let's Talk Business. We will see you next time where we will continue to talk business. I'll see you next time. This was great.
Thank you.